Greetings, Panther Nation. You're locked and loaded into Embrace Debate, a Carolina Panthers podcast here on the Keep Pounding Podcast Network, powered by the Fans First Sports Network. We got a doubleheader for you tonight. A lot of great Panther content. I'm your host, Desmond Johnson. Joined each week, well, not each week, but joined when we actually do it by our two panelists from the Carolina Chronicles, Cody Lachney, and from Cody Lachney. I can't talk. And from the four-man rush, Monty Fetti. Gentlemen, it's been a couple weeks since we got on, and a lot of stuff has changed with the Panthers since the last time we actually got a chance to do a show. So I'm excited to get it going. What's happening, fellas? How y'all doing tonight?
I'm doing good, man. Happy to be here with y'all. Like Monty's happy to fight on the internet about Bryce Young. You know, just another day, man. That's it.
Boy, Monty,
hey, man, I'm doing the Lord's work right now. If you don't know, Cody,
I mean, you're doing some work. I don't know if it's the Lord's work. You're doing some work.
Yo, Monty out here doing God's work because he's on the necks of he kept so many receipts from September.
That's all he does. I'm a firm believer. Monty gets up in the morning, looks through my page from
go through the Rolodex of C3 takes, and I go through other Rolodex.
Today it's just day. He just kind of goes out and
we're going, brother.
It's like here's Clippers, dudes, and eventually dudes just stop talking. They're just like, what can we say? Like, there's nothing else to really say. So we're gonna get into that. Before we get really going, a couple of notes. You can now comment on these live shows on the Twitter account at KP Pounding _FFSN. You can also see this live on Instagram because StreamYard, the fine folks over there, have added that on. So now you've got multiple ways to watch this, whether it's LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, the C3 channels. Like, it's all over the place. So you definitely spread word, tell your friends, and you can actually participate in the show. Something that we like to do is interactive. While you're watching, you can get a chance to comment, leave an opinion. If you have a topic you want us to debate, you can do that as well. We'll be in at least until right before 9:30. That was the last part I wanted to tell you. We do have a new episode of The Cat Cave with Michael Davis and Ryan Frick debuting at 9:30 on the YouTube channel, youtube.com/@Tobacco Road Sports Radio. So if you're already here, just stick around. When the show's over, back out to the homepage. It'll premiere at 9:30, and you'll have even more Panthers content for your Wednesday night. Guys, let's just get into it. Bryce Young. Let's just start with Bryce Young, because Bryce Young has been the topic of debate amongst Panther Nation for the past 2 or 3 weeks. He's clearly improved. That is not up for debate. His box score, matter of fact, from Sunday, 23 for 36, 316 yards passing, 2 touchdowns, 63.9% completion rate, 78.1 QBR. Clearly the kid's best game of the entire season. We've kind of seen a progression the past 2 weeks in particular, where it felt like things were starting to finally slow down for Bryce. The improvement, is it enough to quiet the haters? I'm going to let Cody go first, because I know what side that Monty's on. So I'm going to start off with Cody, and then we'll go to Monty.
I mean, I was going to let Squabbles go first, but if I gotta go, I'll do it. I mean, look, man, look, it was undeniably Bryce Young's best performance, and that was undisputed. This is the type of performance that gets people excited about what Bryce has the potential to be in the future. Because let's be real, we have not seen a lot of this type of performance up until now. There have been a few one-off throws in each and every game, but for the most part, it's been lackluster, or else I don't think there would have been this movement by some coaches to want to bench Bryce. Now, however, that's old stuff, and I think Bryce is playing well. I think you have to give him credit for settling down in that performance. He missed a few a little bit early, but then he had an incredible set of throws to DJ Chark on the run, moving the pocket and stepping up into the pocket, which is something that we've wanted to see him do all year. It was an all-around performance, and I think it showed something to build on. And that's something that we have not had for Bryce yet this entire season, man. So if you wanted some optimism for 2024, we needed that one in a big way.
All right, Monty, floor is yours. Enough to quiet the haters. Bryce Young's improvement over the past 2 games.
I don't think there's ever going to be a performance in his rookie season, especially now that the season's damn near over. We're 15 games into it. I don't think there's ever going to be enough performances this season to fully quiet the haters, and that's kind of the sad part. But yeah, this is definitely we're in the right direction. You saw the progression, and I think this is the one game that you saw kind of a full performance. I think all season, Cody just hit it on the head. We've seen spurts of it. We've seen quarters, we've seen some halves. Like for instance, the Atlanta game, I feel like he played a very clean second half. The first half started off very slow. Even even our first win of the season, even in Houston, I feel like he played a great second half. Started off slow against Houston. I feel like it was kind of the most complete game we've seen of Bryce. And this is what you get excited for. This is what you traded up to number 1 for. 300 plus yards, 2 touchdowns, over 100 passer rating. That's what you want, with your quarterback. So I don't think it's enough to fully quiet the haters. But again, I feel like this is something that you want to see with your rookie quarterback. We're in the right direction now, and Cody's hit it on the head perfectly. I feel like the game finally has slowed down for Bryce, and now I'll say this: it was just a matter of time for that to happen. But that's another debate for later today. But that was just a matter of time to happen. But yeah, I mean, it's good. It's great to see. I think one thing that we need to really do is give kudos to Thomas Brown. Thomas Brown has came in the last 2 weeks or the last 6 quarters. He's played. I mean, he's coached a very clean game. He's gotten us to run the ball effectively. Chuba Hubbard is a complete different running back than what he was at the top of the season. So, I feel like those are things that we also don't really mention because of Bryce. I mean, because we talk about Bryce so often. But yeah, man, I'm excited. Yeah, I know if anybody follows me on Twitter, I've been going at it with people all day today. And, I definitely take fun in that. Yeah,
every day.
I definitely have fun in doing that. But I'm excited, man.
So I got a couple things because there were a couple on it's been a couple of weeks since I had my tweet about Bryce not dropping back in the pocket and got flamed on Twitter for it. Literally, since I put that tweet out, Bryce has played better, and they've put him under center, and he started climbing the pocket. So I feel like the two are kind of combined. Like some of the stuff they're doing, it makes me wonder, was Frank Wright scared to mess with Bryce at all? Because if you look at it, when Frank was there, Bryce looked the same as he did at Alabama. They didn't mess with his mechanics at all. He was in shotgun 90% of the time. It was almost like they were trying to protect him from getting hit. So they just didn't want him under center. So
Desmond,
it's limited what they can do.
This is the reason, and everybody called me a big-time conspiracy theorist, and I was reading into things. This is part of the reason why I believe that Frank Reich never wanted Bryce in the first place. Now, you may say that's a problem, and I agree, and he's out the door. But if you look at the way this offense is built, literally none of it from jump was built in the fashion that we all know Bryce plays well under. RPO, getting him out of the pocket, doing some of these things that he did at Alabama. And like now, just recently, we're finally starting to see those things. And it looks like a good product. That's why I'm hitting it on the head that you have to find a brand new head coach that's all in on Bryce and wants to build around him for the foreseeable future. Because I don't think that Frank Reich was that guy that wanted to do that. And I believe David Tepper kind of forced the situation on him. So now going forward, the coaching hire is by far the most important thing in this franchise.
Yeah, we're going to get to the coaching Frontrunners as it stands here the last week of December here a little bit later on in the show. I do want to give kudos to Bryce because one of the biggest knock on Bryce coming out of the draft was his size. Can he withstand the NFL? I think the kid has clearly proven that he can sustain the hits in the NFL.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
I mean, like I was saying basically 2 weeks ago, maybe we should bench him, not because I was afraid of him getting hurt, but I was like, what's the point of playing him? Like the offensive coordinator's not even going to be here next year. Yeah. It's going to be a whole new offense. So it's like, are we even doing him any good being out there? And I forgot who it was I was talking to. But I think it might have been Jonathan Stewart during our pod last week. But he was like, nah, you got to keep playing him because for games like last week or, he needs to know how to win. Like he needs to know that feeling. Like the game against Atlanta, beating a division rival and potentially putting a dent in their playoff chances. He needs to know how that feels like in the NFL. Like those are building blocks. So from that point on, I was like, okay, he needs to stay in there. But they need to stop, feeding him to the wolves. Don't just put him out there and shotgun and not have but like 2 wide receivers running out there and they can't get separation and then 3 seconds later he's on the ground. Do something different. Do something different.
Right. And Des, I don't mean to cut you off. I think that's kind of why I've taken so much exception to it because it's like I feel like you just said it. If you're gonna play him, you can't feed him to the wolves, man. Especially first year, you don't have the personnel to kind of run the offense that you ideally would like to see. So it's like you can't put him back there and expect him just to. And that was the big thing, you know, the first 9 games. Just elevate the offense. Like, I don't think it's realistically you're not even being realistic when you're saying, oh, you're supposed to elevate the offense, and he's getting sacked 40 times, you know, in the first 10 games. Like that's not realistic. It's not even fair.
But the offense wasn't even built for him the way it feels like now. The previous one.
And if the argument is, oh well, he has to elevate, you know, a below average team, or he's a bust. We're not even talking about football anymore. We're just driving narratives now because some people did not want Bryce, some people did. You know, that's kind of where I've drawn the line in the sand. But yeah, I mean, I think that, you know, I didn't fully agree with benching him. I think by the time, you know, especially after that New Orleans game, I think it was getting closer to time to bench him because, again, you know, he just could not survive back there. He was getting hit. You know, he was getting hit almost. It seemed like every down. It seemed like he always was under fire. You know, guys were dropping passes left and right. And it was like, come on, man. There's just no way we can get a fair shot. And now here we are. We have Thomas Brown. Now he's had 2 games to really, you know, to under his helm, you know, he's had really taken control of this offense. And you see, you know, we went back to more of a power style offense, but now you have a quarterback that can make things interesting now. You know, I'll be honest, before the Green Bay game, if you'd have told me that we was going to score 30 points and then, you know, and make it a close game, bro, nobody would have. I'd tell you you're lying, bro. It's like, no way that's a possibility. Now here we are. And now I'm saying, hey, man, you give him some time, you give him some weapons, and Bryce can be a very scary quarterback. And it feels good to say that.
There's reasons why he had time, though, that we have to address, because I still see there's some haters in here. Flame for Jesus puts completion percentage.
I wouldn't say haters. I'd say keeping it real.
Maybe trying to keep it a little, when keeping it real goes wrong, maybe a little bit, because some of this.
I mean, but is it wrong?
You're including the first 13 games where it was just like there was no game plan. It feels like, looking back in hindsight. At this point, I'm only looking at December, because everything that happened before that with Frank Wright, the pieces didn't fit, and we all knew it. We all knew the pieces didn't fit. Even Frank in press conferences sitting there telling us, yeah, we kept the offensive line coach because of what they did last year. They were great in the run game. They were smash mouth, blah, blah, blah. 2 minutes goes by in that press conference. Frank is like, well, we don't want to be known as a smash mouth football team. That's not what we are.
Which is insane.
Things like that. Like, what are you doing, Frank? Like, what are you doing? Like, you don't tell people that we're not a smash mouth football team. We're in the NFL. Like, what are we supposed to do?
Does he know that he didn't have to say that out loud?
Maybe he said it on purpose out loud. You know, maybe he said it on, because I'm looking back now.
That may have got him fired, actually.
The last couple of weeks of Frank Wright's regime, if you go back and look at his press conferences on Mondays, some of the stuff he was saying, it almost makes me feel like he was trying to get fired. Like, they weren't going to change anything. And you could tell he sensed there was something going on around him that he wasn't included in, that these other coaches were starting to talk to people besides him about what was going on the team. And I think originally he felt like, if I can just get through rookie year, in the offseason, we'll work with Bryce and his technique and all this other stuff. But it got to a point, I think it was right around Thanksgiving, because me and Skylar and Stu were talking about this, and Skylar made a great point that they weren't going to fire him on Thanksgiving, the week of Thanksgiving, because he had a bunch of local charity events that were already set up for the Panthers. And to fire a head coach that week and then have to install something new with a new interim head coach on a Tuesday or whatever during Thanksgiving week, when they were already off that Monday and everything else, it just wasn't feasible. But the next week was the target, and that's exactly what happened. Like, it literally from that point on. So in the end, though, Thomas Brown deserves a little bit of credit here, because I saw my girl Vashti Hurt grill him about these 4th and 1 shotgun passes. And to Thomas's credit, he didn't clown or anything like that. He sat there and answered it in a football manner. And then on Sunday, I think it did happen once they lined up that way, but for the most part, they ran the ball on those short lines, those short yard situations in 3rd and 1, 4th and 1, whatever it was.
Hey, we got our first QB sneak of the year, and I'll be honest, I think that's. Man, we should have been running this. Hey, man, I just posted this on Twitter. In the game of low man wins, bro, Bryce is 5'10", 190. Bryce is going to win that fight every single time.
Look, the main thing was Green Bay's defense was not expecting it at all. Like, they did not expect that to happen in any of the scenarios they had for that play. None of them were Bryce Young is just going to run forward with it. And literally it was just a hole. He was on the ground before anybody touched him. He probably could have kept running, but I don't know if we'll see a whole lot more of that, but they're showing that they're not afraid to play with Bryce. These coaches are coaching like they know they're not going to be here next year. So they're going to pull it out there. They're going to go on 4th down. They're going to do it. some of these wild plays we've seen. They put little trick plays in there too. So shout out to Thomas Brown. Shout out to Chris Tabor, the interim head coach. Not this week, but last week, I believe it was, against the Falcons. The thing that sold me on him for the rest of the season, he called that timeout right before the end of the first or the second quarter. Or no, it was first quarter. They were driving and they were about to kick a field. They were about to punt, and he called a timeout because there was like 3 or 4 seconds left in the quarter. He did it because he wanted the wind to be at the back of the punter as opposed to letting the time run out, go to second quarter, and you flip the field, and now you're punting into the wind. Like, it's little stuff like that. That's time management. That's good stuff. That him realizing that he had a timeout he could burn to do that with, and it ended up working out in their favor down the road with field position. But Frank Wright didn't do anything like that. You know what I mean? Like stuff that you're like, why do they do that? And then you go, oh, that's why they did it. That makes a lot of sense. You know, like, and he's doing that kind of thing. And I think the players are really playing for him. Like, it feels like they could have checked out, and they still look. The defense in particular looks really engaged. I didn't look.
What this is about interim head coaches getting the most out of football teams late in the season when there ain't nothing to be fought for. And leave it to an interim coach, and all of a sudden, it looks like a brand new team, won't we?
And then they never get hired. Like, they never.
Yeah, never.
You know what I mean? They never get to stick around. And we'll get to that here in a little bit too. Let's go down to the next topic here, and it's actually familiar face, Mr. Cam Newton. Cam Newton's been all over social media the past couple of weeks, talking about the Carolina Panthers in particular. We can touch on the whole game manager, game changer comments. I believe he was 1,000% correct. And anyone in the media that was questioning whether or not he should be able to ask that question or say that statement, they don't realize he was a game manager. I mean, not a game manager, he was a game changer. Like he that was him. So like, if anyone has any like pedestal to stand on and talk about he's this, it's him. Like he was him. Like, so I don't know.
10-year NFL veteran, once upon a time MVP, has the right to give his opinion on quarterbacks in the NFL. What a concept!
There was a point in time where the entire NFL.
How wild is it that a former MVP actually knows what a game changer is? Like, how wild is that? How mind-boggling are?
And it's not. It is not a diss to be a game manager. The greatest quarterback of all time was a game manager, Tom Brady. Like, he wasn't physically gifted where he could put a team on his back and just like
Drew Brees,
game manager. Yeah. Peyton Manning, game manager. Like, all of them are pretty much game changers. We saw a game changer Monday, Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson is a game changer. Like, literally, the Ravens do not lose regular season games if Lamar Jackson plays. Like, I think they've only lost like 12 or something over like 6 years in the regular season. They won like 50-something games. If
They've
he's
never
playing,
lost in prime time either.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. And Lamar, man, he's literally Cam Newton 2.0. He's kind of a mix of Cam and RG3. He's like RG3.
I would say he's more like a Michael Vick 2.0, wouldn't you? I know we've talked about this a little bit before, but to me, like Lamar's gonna make you miss in open space, and Cam might make you miss, but Cam will also go right through
you. Yeah,
you know what I'm saying. And I don't know if Lamar is
this generation of quarterbacks that are out here that are these game changers. I feel like they all are birthed from Cam, not Vic.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, absolutely. Cam came from Vic, but like Lamar Jackson, Pat Mahomes, Josh Allen, who am I missing? Jalen Hurts,
Justin Fields, Anthony Richardson. You know, even smaller guys like
even Bryce Young to a certain degree. Like,
I'll even say Kyler Murray. Like Kyler Murray, his style of play. He's just not 6'4", 250, but his style of play is a whole different problem. You know, he runs around there. He creates plays, man. In my opinion, Kyler Murray is a game changer, and he just hasn't been healthy enough to fully display that. I'll die on the Kyler Murray hill, just like with Bryce. I feel like Kyler Murray gets a bad rep because being on the same team. I feel like you put him on a lot of these different offenses. You put him in San Francisco runs away with the NFC. That's just honest to God how I feel.
And somebody made a good point that with Brock Purdy, because a lot of it was when he mentioned Brock Purdy and Dak Prescott, and really the Dak Prescott ones, because at the time Dak was playing fantastic. So everyone was like, "Oh my God, Dak Prescott's not a game manager." What's happened since he's made those comments? Dak's come back to earth. Brock threw 4 interceptions on Monday night, came back to earth. Granted, he was playing the number 1 defense in the league, but still, like, those are still game managers. You can be a game manager and be a top 5 quarterback in the league. It happens every year. There's only, to Cam's point that made the most sense, there's only 3 or 4 game changers in the league at any given time, really. And right now, I just named them: Pat Mahomes, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson. Who am I forgetting?
I say when healthy. I mean, because we can never count the old man out. Aaron Rodgers, you can't.
Aaron Rodgers. That's what it was. That was the four he said. Yep, that was the four he said. Rodgers, Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen. Josh Allen is Cam Newton. He's literally Cam Newton. Like, he's just a little bit slower, but his frame is pretty much the same. His arm's kind of the same. Cam has a stronger arm than Josh Allen does. Not by much, but he does.
I don't know. I mean, I say this: they can both throw the ball 75 to 80 yards.
Yeah. Like, I've seen Cam throw it 75 yards flat-footed before. Like, I mean, the dude, he was just a unicorn. Like, and that's a game changer. A game changer is a unicorn. You can't just go. You can't get rid of a unicorn.
You can't teach him to do some of those things. And by the way, like, I'm not trying to take it off topic. I know we're talking about Cam, but that's why I don't think it's so disrespectful to say that Bryce Young, one day, you're hoping that he's going to be a high-level game manager. Because all those things that you just mentioned, that isn't built into Bryce Young's game. He doesn't have the bazooka for an arm. You're not going to use him on power run schemes. And that's all right. That's not a knock on Bryce either. But if you look at what a game manager is, someone who runs the offense at an extremely high level, yeah, I think Bryce would fit into that category, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's not an insult.
I thought some people were going to start commenting on this because it's been a topic for like 2 weeks, and people have been debating it. Chunk says Drew and Tom were actual game changers. I don't think we should confuse athleticism for game changers. I'm not. I'm not confusing people that could put teams on their backs and win games, divisions, conferences, Super Bowls. Like, Drew and Tom were exceptional quarterbacks, but they needed to have pieces around them in order to be great. Like Tom Brady, yeah, fine. There was those early Super Bowl teams with the Patriots. He didn't have a whole lot on offense, like in terms of name brand, like recognition. What he did have was a top 5 defense in the league, and they dinked and dunked it down the field. That's not a game changer. That's a definition of a game manager.
Well,
same with Drew.
We're talking saying we're confusing game changer and athleticism. They're not always the same, but there is a little bit of that is correlated. Mm-hmm. So athleticism, I mean, are we going to say that part of what makes Lamar Jackson a game changer isn't correlated to his incredible athleticism? Because it is. Like, not everyone can do what Lamar Jackson can do.
Another thing, too, you don't grow from a game manager into a game changer. You can grow from a game changer into a game manager as you get older in your career. But I can't name a single quarterback that started off as game manager that turned into a game changer before their career was over.
Like, I don't fully agree with that.
Because I've been racking my brain. Who is it?
I mean, well, Josh Allen. I mean, if we're going to be honest,
he started out that way, though. I mean, like, he's always been like this.
I mean, but if you think about it, he developed into a game changer. He came into the season, and matter of fact, Josh Allen's rookie season was terrible. He was absolutely terrible, you know. So was Trevor Lawrence? Trevor Lawrence showed flashes, but Trevor Lawrence didn't show game changer ability his rookie season. He developed into that. So I mean, and I think you can develop into a game changer. I think what we don't talk about enough, the quarterback position is a lot more dependent on the scheme than it is just being over crazy talented. Like you said, there's only about a handful of players that, regardless of scheme, they're going to take over a game, and then the rest of the league is game changers. I mean, game managers. But do I believe you can develop it depending on the system into a game changer? Absolutely. We've seen it.
See, what you just said there contradicts the whole thing. Like, if you have to depend on the system to change him into a game changer, he's not a game changer. He's just a very good manager.
But okay, I'll say this. So for Josh Allen as the example, was Josh Allen the game changer his first 2 seasons?
I think he was. He just wasn't good at it.
But you also drafted him.
I don't think he changed into a game changer. He was always that's why he got drafted top 10. But he just wasn't. He was young and he wasn't good at it, which is kind of bringing me back to my original question of what is Bryce Young in your mind? Is he a game changer or a game manager? Like, eventually down the road, because to my point, they're usually what they are from the very beginning. They just get better at what they are. It's not a matter of changing into from a game manager into a game changer. We knew Mike Vick was a game changer when he showed up. We knew Cam Newton was a game changer when he showed up. Josh Allen, pretty much, Lamar Jackson, Pat Mahomes, when he finally got a start, that dude is different. Like, he's a game changer. He can put a team on his back and take them to a Super Bowl with no offensive line and wide receivers that are dropping.
That's not the conversation we were having about Josh Allen or Trevor Lawrence for that matter, their first 2 seasons, bro, or at least Josh Allen. You know, I vividly remember people were just like with Bryce. You know, people were saying Josh Allen's going to be a bust. Josh Allen, he's not accurate enough. He's a big athlete, but he doesn't see the field well. These were things that people were saying about Josh Allen early in his career, and now here we are 4 or 5 years later, and we're saying, okay, he's a game changer. But again, that takes development. You know, it takes. Hey, we're not having a conversation. He didn't have that big jump until he got a top 5 receiver. Now, whether you say that is based on scheme, whether you say that's based on Josh Allen, I'm saying it's a little bit of both. That's my argument. You know, again, you can develop into being a game changer. And to be honest, Cam Newton was a game changer to start off. Yes. Did Cam Newton develop from a raw talent of a game changer to an elite talent as a game changer as he developed? Absolutely.
Because I was going to say what you just said. Point. There was people that thought Cam was going to be a bust year one.
Absolutely.
Just like Josh Allen.
Absolutely.
So same kind of thing. You know?
That's kind of my point, that it can be developed. Yeah, I mean, and I'll be honest, I don't agree with Tom Brady not being a game changer. Like
look,
I mean, if we're gonna have the conversation, he went to Tampa Bay, and in the year they won a Super Bowl. I'm sorry, you can't put 5 quarterbacks in Tampa Bay at that time, and they won the Super Bowl.
Oh, I think you could have. I think with what they had, Mike Evans and who's the other wide receiver?
It's Tom Brady, though.
I mean, but like you said, it's Tom Brady. Tom Brady is looked at as the greatest player of all time. There's no way you look at the greatest player of all time as a game manager.
But also, Desmond, if you look at it this way, like when Randy Moss went to play with Tom Brady, like, you know, a lot of people wouldn't necessarily think that they were the best of 2 matches because he didn't have that crazy arm talent. But dude, when Tom Brady had the opportunity, he was one of the best deep ball throwers in the NFL.
Yeah,
so it's like, to me, you have to. To me, right? Okay, but we can do that with Patrick Mahomes. All right, but we can do that with Patrick Mahomes.
Yep.
Recently, who's had a ton of help. We can do that for a lot of people. You need talent around your quarterback for them to be successful. I don't think that you can say 6 Super Bowls is anything less than a game changer, even though it didn't have that high level of athleticism.
No, hold on, wait, because I'm the biggest Patriot hater on earth. Y'all are changing history a little bit, because the first 3 Super Bowls that Tom Brady won, it wasn't necessarily him winning those Super Bowls. It was the defense. It was Bill Belichick.
Yeah, but then you also got to think about it, bro. They went toe to toe with Seattle and beat Seattle. So, I mean, that's a Hall of Fame defense as well.
Seattle messed that whole thing up. We all know it.
At the end of the day, bro, at the end of the day, New England win, though, bro. I mean, we can go back at every single Super Bowl saying, oh, well, if this play happens, then the outcome changes.
I mean, he was also he was a starting quarterback in the Super Bowl against the Rams, where it was like 15 points scored total between the 2 teams. Like,
hey man, I'll make the argument there. That offense that he played, the offense that he had against the LA team was not great without Tom Brady, bro. I'm just saying, man. Tom Brady. I don't look at Tom Brady.
And like people started hitting like Chunk says Eli's a game manager. Actually, Eli, I was seeing some of your comments as you were coming through. You're talking about Drew Brees. He took the over games of 400 yards. Pro had 5K seasons. Look who he was throwing to. Like literally, like he wasn't throwing to scrubs. Like he had like all pro first team NFL wide receivers, tight ends, Jimmy Graham, like dudes are going in the Hall of Fame. Like it wouldn't. I'm not saying a game changer can do it all by himself every game. I'm saying a game changer. You know what a game changer is when you see it. Like you're not going to compare Lamar Jackson's skill set to Tom Brady's. Like it don't work. It's not the same thing. You can't compare Cam Newton's skill set to Dak Prescott. They're not the same player. Like one is clearly this, and one 100%. Is clearly that.
Yeah, but Dak doesn't belong in
it. Had to be that. It's not
don't belong in this conversation,
look, in today's NFL, especially, it's not wrong to say that you draft the physical talent and what that player could end up being one day. So Josh Allen, did it take him some time? Yes, but you drafted him knowing that he was a raw player that would take some time to build on. It's literally the same reason why the Colts drafted Anthony Richardson at number 4. Not because of who he is right now, but who he could be one day. And I think this goes back to the whole, the question about Bryce and the game manager. A lot of the reasons why a lot of people were upset about moving up to number 1 for a 5'10", 200-pound quarterback was that he doesn't necessarily have all of these physical traits that jump off the screen that are a can't-miss type of prospect. You're drafting him because of his mental ability and his ability to read defenses and manipulate the offensive line and doing all those things.
Yes, but that's an elite trait, bro. That's a game-changing type trait.
Yeah,
bro.
But you can get better as a quarterback functioning under center. You might never be able to teach the type of arm talent that a CJ Stroud or Anthony Richardson have.
Right, but you don't need
that's
that,
a God-given talent.
I mean, realistically speaking, so do y'all not look at Joe Burrow as a game changer?
I do think
I do.
Okay, but what physical traits do Joe Burrow has that makes him an elite? That makes him a game changer. He's
right.
Exactly
in his arm.
It's his mind, but I was
Joe Burrow doesn't have a big arm.
Yeah,
his demeanor in his arm.
Joe Burrow might not be an A+ in any category, but he's a B+ in every category.
Yeah, and I'll take that.
He's not below average in any of those traits that you would mention that you would want a quarterback to have.
If Bryce was Joe Burrow's size, we wouldn't even be having this conversation about Bryce.
Exactly. I was going to say the only real big knock that we can make about Bryce right now is his size. Yeah. He's not a below average. He's not a below average athlete. He doesn't have a below average arm. He doesn't have a below average mental for the game. I mean, so if we're going to make that argument, if Joe Burrow is a game changer in y'all opinion, why can't Bryce be?
He can be. I've never said he can't be. I'm asking what do you think he's going to be? Like, I don't know.
I mean, well, no, I guess I was more asking Cody because Cody said he felt like his ceiling will be a top-end game manager.
Yeah, go ahead, Cody.
All right, well then let me ask you this: Would you call Tua a game changer or a manager?
Game manager.
I would call Tua a game manager. Now, that being said, I also feel like Bryce is a little better than Tua. I thought Bryce was better than Tua coming out of college.
Well, I'm saying when you're looking at Tua, like that's the exact thing that you want to build for Bryce. It's that type of style. What does Bryce do better than Tua? I don't think he necessarily has a better arm. I don't think he has. They're relatively similar in their play style.
Tua's more accurate.
In my opinion, like if to me, that's the comparison. If Bryce can look like Tua does this season, then that's a victory for us. I still wouldn't qualify that as a game changer.
Let me get to the question that's been on the screen for a little bit, because I didn't mean to go over into the game changer comments, but I knew it was out there. We hadn't been, man, apologize. We ain't been on in a month, y'all. I'm sorry. The actual question on the screen, Cam Newton's comments during that same podcast on becoming Panthers team president. Is it a good or a bad idea? Now, he's since doubled down since the first podcast, I think early last week, came back again at the end of this past week and doubled down on it and actually explained what he would do and what it would mean and everything else. And I can't go too deep into it, but I've heard rumblings that there are people in the building that are actually for this, not necessarily taking the job away from the current team president, because there is a team president right now. So like we're dealing with their livelihoods or whatnot, but having some role in the front office for Cam Newton, he clearly wants it. He even said, make it incentive based, which I thought was like, all right. He's basically saying, bet on me. Like I can get this turned around. Because the one thing I was worried about when they didn't hire Steve Wilks, the one thing that settled me on them not hiring Steve Wilks was hiring Frank Wright. And the number one reason why was for all the reasons I wanted Steve Wilks. I feel like we're getting to a point with David Tepper where we're starting to lose our identity in terms of our history, like our lineage, like what we do. Yeah, we've never won a Super Bowl before, but we've been here for 27 plus years. Like we have history. There's things here I was worried we're going to lose. And it felt like that was going to start to happen. And then they hired Frank Wright, who had all the storyline, played for the Panthers, first quarterback, lived in Charlotte 20 years, all the stuff I liked about Steve Wilks, I liked about Frank Wright. That didn't work out. So now I'm back to square one where I'm like, okay, I'm worried they're going to bring in somebody that has no idea what the identity of the Panthers are, like Matt Rule, and tries to change everything, pushes all the old players out, which is something Frank Wright embraced and brought them back in. I don't want that to be. So if Cam is in the front office, he can be that link to the past for the Panthers and going forward into the future. Now, what his job would be, I'm not quite sure. I think people think Cam is not smart because of his outfits and his hats, which is ridiculous to me. Let that man live. If he wants to wear a top hat, then let him wear a top hat. Like what's the problem? Like
doesn't he own like $3 million plus businesses between the hats, the cigars, and the iconic saga, his production crew? Like,
oh man, and they've been blown up this year. Especially
he's a businessman. Like people clown on Cam because he's not playing and they think that he wants to be. What Cam's doing 100% what he wants to be doing.
Yep.
Like he has made the internet so much more fun the past 3 months. Just him being
he hasn't changed at all. Like
he's giving his opinion and being fun and having these real conversations. Cam Newton has always felt accessible to the fans. That's why so many people want him in this job, because he knows how to get the fan base excited. And I'm gonna be real, I don't even know what a team president does, if I'm being 1,000% honest with you. But if it involves getting the fan base hyped up and active again and participating in Panther stuff, then I'm 100% down for Cam Newton being involved in the organization in some way, shape, or fashion.
I'm gonna go ahead and put it out because I've never really said it verbally, but in my head I've always known. And it really was Bo Jackson for the longest for me. Cam Newton's my favorite NFL player of all time. Like, if I put all the pieces together, like, I've watched every one of his games. I've rooted for him. Like, this dude I vicariously lived through him every Sunday. He made my team relevant, like, nationally. Like, you remember, y'all remember, like, being on Twitter or Facebook on Wednesday and people are still debating about what Cam Newton wore on Sunday at the podium?
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, dude, he had Betty White dabbing, bro. Like, I feel like that.
Betty White dabbing.
Yeah, man. Like, you had rich people that never knew what a dab was out there dabbing, because of Cam Newton. Man, hey, I'll take it a step further, fellas. Like, Cam is a trendsetter. Like, when you look at the NFL now and look at it 10 years ago when he first came into the league, dude, this Cam had fingerprint. It's all, just from the way players dress. From the having fun on the sideline, taking pictures, celebrating
celebrations, the touchdown celebrations. Absolutely. That started with the 2015 Carolina Panthers. Forced the NFL to change that rule because of what they were doing that year. I was talking to Stu last week when we were doing the Believe in Panthers podcast. It's like, man, I came across a picture from 2015. I forgot who y'all were playing, but literally half the team is like getting set up for like a selfie on the sideline. And I'm like, I'm pretty sure the game is still going on.
Yeah, I think that's going on. That's the NFC Championship game.
And he was like, it was the NFC Championship game. It was Arizona. He was like, the defense was out there, but some of the defense was in that picture. They were already out of the game. So we all posed. And I remember it so vividly because if you go find that picture, Greg Olsen is standing off kind of to the side, like in the picture, but not really in it. And he has a look on his face like he has no idea what's going on. And it gets captured in the picture. So you see all these dudes posing or dabbing or whatever. And you see Greg Newton off to like the left, kind of looking like this, and he doesn't know what's going on, and he's just in the picture. But that kind of stuff is just iconic to me. He brought all that back in. Why would we not want that in our franchise? It's ours. Like, that belongs to us, and he proudly proclaimed North Carolina and Charlotte home. Like, this is his spot. He wants to be known here. He said it when he first got here. He noticed it was all Redskins, Steelers, Cowboys, 49er fans coming in here whenever they play the Panthers. He's like, that's got to stop. And by the time he got to his peak, it had stopped. So I don't know what a team president does either, Cody, but I'm all for him being a part of this franchise in terms of, in some shape or form, in the front office doing some team ambassador or something. What is Don Capers doing? Like, what? He's just an advisor. We don't know what he does. Like, or what's his name?
Caldwell, Jim Caldwell. What's Jim Caldwell doing?
What exactly would you say you do here, Jim? Like, what is your job? Because nobody knows. So we can just give Cam an advisor role. He could be in the front office and be good to go. I'd be perfectly fine with that. Let's get to the nitty-gritty. Head coach and front runners for the Panthers. As you sit here, 3 games to go, we already know Chris Tabor ain't it. He ain't going to be around. We're pretty positive most of this coaching staff's going to be gone. Although I will say there's a sentiment setting up for them to try to retain defensive coordinator Ejiro Evero, and I'm all for that. It's just a matter if he would want to stay because he might get some head coaching gigs himself with the job he's done with his Panther defense. Monty, let's start with you. As it stands today, December 27, 2023, who would be your number 1 pick to head coach the Carolina Panthers next year?
I think the layup answer is Ben Johnson, man. Offensive coordinator for the Lions. I'm kind of sold on Evero as well. I don't want to get into the debate of having to lose another good coordinator to another team, and then we see them go off and thrive somewhere else. I think Evero would be a great head coach candidate. But I think the elephant in this room is Tepper wants an offensive guy that's going to be able to develop and grow with Bryce. I think Ben Johnson is kind of the easiest answer to go for, especially with all the reports that Tepper's willing to pay him basically whatever he wants to come here. So, I feel like that's
cap.
It has nothing to do with the cap. Doesn't affect the play, the team basically at all. Do it. So, I think Ben Johnson is the easiest answer. It's between him and Evero for me. Either one, I feel like you get a good leader of men, and that's kind of the biggest thing for me. I could care less if he's an offensive coordinator or a defensive coordinator. For instance, Baltimore, they're arguably one of the best teams in the league, and their head coach was a special teams coordinator. So, that just goes to show you how much that I care about that. But yeah, I'd probably say Ben Johnson is my choice.
It's funny too, because I see people going, well, who's going to want to come to Carolina? Like if they think they might get fired in 12 months, and I'm sitting there like, who wouldn't want to come to Carolina? If you get fired in 12 months, fine. You still got 3 years of guaranteed salary from David Tepper. Like, that's the job to go do.
And then everybody's also forgetting those are all bargaining chips on the favor of Ben Johnson.
Yep.
Because Ben Johnson's going to say, oh, you want me? Okay,
I need more than 12 months.
You fired how many head coaches in a row? I'm gonna need a little bit of a financial incentive to make sure that not only I'm going somewhere where I'm going to be financially compensated in a job that isn't necessarily in the highest of demand, but I'm going to need some time to build this team. So I promise you're not going to one and done me either. Yeah. So whatever we do for Ben Johnson, it's going to be astronomical. And I guarantee you that people are already going to be criticizing that, oh, we paid too much for an unproven coach. I'm of the mindset that I think there's a bunch of good options that I think have been tossed around. I'm still a believer in Bobby Slovic. I know that Texans organization wanted Bryce Young before they drafted Stroud. Apparently, they were going to move up for him. I think that would be a perfect type of offensive system for Bryce Young, that Kyle Shanahan type of system. I wouldn't be mad at Harbaugh just because Harbaugh, with that type of seniority and that tenure that he has in both the NFL and college, he might be the one person that has enough of a resume to tell David Tepper, look, David, thanks for your input, but we're going to do it this way on the football side of the operations, and you control the business. So I'm happy with a lot of them. I'm not mad at Ben Johnson. I understand he's the name that everybody wants right now. I'd be happy with that as well. I would love a scenario where we brought in Ben Johnson as the head coach and we're still able to retain Rivero as the defensive coordinator.
Yeah, that's
the one. That's the one you want right there. That way you have some continuity going into next season and you're not having to revamp both sides of the football.
Y'all understand that if that goes down, Scott Fitterer is probably still the general manager.
I don't know if Scott survives, bro. I just don't.
I'm open to either of them, Desmond, because the fact that we haven't fired him yet, it does give me pause. Like if you wanted him out, why wouldn't you have already fired him so that way you can already kind of
do it together,
put out the feelers of who you're looking for. So
he helped hire Frank Wright. I mean, like, how can you fire a dude that's only doing what the owner's telling him to do? Like, the owner can't blame him for the mistakes if the owner's in his ear going, hey, I want that guy. I want this guy. I want this. And he goes out and gets him. Or he's telling him, like I mentioned on a previous pod, David Tepper on draft night explained exactly what this season was going to be. And we all skipped over it. All Panthers content creators, C3, 4-Man Rush, myself, all of us. None of us even thought about the comment he said at the time. But he was talking about how they made the trade with the Bears, the Texans. He got tired of waiting with the Texans. They just skipped over and went to the Bears and got the pick. And he said the reason why they drafted Bryce Young over CJ Stroud and the other ones is because they felt like he was a quintessential point guard that could basically elevate the rest of the players around him. And this was the key. They could spend less money on skill position players because they had Bryce Young. And Bryce Young could be that point guard that could distribute the ball. That didn't work. Look what they did. They go sign DJ Chark. They signed Hayden Hurst. They signed all these like a 33-year-old Adam Thielen. They signed all these skill position players where you're like, is there a one? Is there a one on this team? You overpaid for Miles Sanders for a scheme that you weren't even really running. And look at what you got. So, like, he told us what they were going to try to do. David Tepper is running this team like a hedge fund. Like, he's quick to dump when the stock's going low. He'll dump that thing. He won't even think twice about it. He'll dump it. He'll buy early. He'll jump on something. If he thinks it's like the next thing, he'll jump on that. He's analytically driven. He's all about stats and numbers and probability. But football, you can't really run it that way. Like, I understand you can kind of in baseball a little bit, but not really in football. It ebbs and flows so much. So they've told us what they want to do, but now he's seen it doesn't work. So now it's up to Tepper to see, okay, will he change this, like with the next hire? Plus this narrative of him being super quick with these coaches. To be honest, he kind of let Matt Rule stay here a little bit longer than he needed to be. And Rivera was already here. Like, Rivera was already here for, was that the 2019? He bought the team in 2018. So Rivera was here for that whole season. And that's when we went 6-2 and it bought him out. 2019
they fired him at the end of They fired him at the end of 2019 with like 3 games left.
Right, and he did that so he'd have an opportunity to get ahead of head coaching jobs that are out there. Yeah, he did him a favor.
So why not do that with Fitterer? Like that's my thing.
Because I don't think he's going anywhere. Like I don't think he's going to go anywhere, and that hurts my soul.
I hope we're wrong, but it wouldn't surprise me. He's a yes man. He's a puppet. Like he's going to do the bidding of David Tepper. And he'll say jump, and Fitterer's going to say how high.
I want what my homegirl Kieran here says. I want Harbaugh. I've been on record for 2 years. Want Harbaugh as well. Storybook ending. Michigan wins the national championship the next 2 weeks. Harbaugh leaves, comes to the NFL. He was sniffing around Carolina last year. He was the one calling us. We were the ones that didn't return the call because we didn't want to deal with him at the time. But now, if Harbaugh came back to the NFL, he's only going to go 2 spots. He'll come here or he'll go to LA to the Chargers. He played for both. And to be honest, which do you think's a better situation, the Chargers or the Panthers going into next year?
I don't want to be biased. To be honest, I think both positions aren't great. The Chargers, you have Herbert, and then you have a bunch of aging players, bad contracts.
Yeah.
You need a new head coach there too. Here you have a young quarterback with a bunch of old, a bunch of mediocre players. So I don't think either position is great. I do think that me being a biased fan, I think it's a little easier, because you also got to think about you're going to have to pay Herbert here in the next year or so. So you're going to, or I'm sorry, no, you've already paid Herbert. I'm sorry. So
they already paid Herbert.
Oh yeah, you already got
it. Yeah, so you just paid Herbert. We've seen now QB contracts can be detrimental for your team, especially when you're paying them like that. And I'm going on record. I think Herbert's a little overrated. But so again, I do think that it's probably a little easier to build around this team with the rookie quarterback on a rookie contract. But I don't think either destination is head over heels the best position. I mean, you can make an argument that both destinations stink. To be honest with you.
Yeah, I mean, at least our owner has more money than the Chargers owner.
Yeah,
so you can get paid more. And
any victory is a victory, huh?
Yeah, I'll take
our owner made bang, y'all.
Blame for you says Harbaugh doesn't like short quarterbacks. He would come if he would let him get his own in 2025. Though Tepper ain't coming off of Bryce. This is his project. Like that until it's clear that it just ain't going to work, and it's not clear. In fact, they're turning the narrative to this probably is going to work. I don't know. So I don't know if Harbaugh. I don't know. Actually, nobody knows. We haven't really talked to him. So another thing too, I don't think we need to hire an offensive-minded head coach. I just think we need a really good offensive coordinator. But actually, Stu brought this point up again too. You almost kind of have to hire him as the head coach, because if you hire a really good offensive coordinator, you're going to have to replace him in 2 years anyway. Yeah, because he's going to be out the door and be a head coach. So
the reason you hired Frank Reich as an offensive-minded coach was the ability to pair him with Bryce for the foreseeable future. I don't want us to abandon that plan just because we hired the wrong coach the first go around. Like Mike McDaniels, him and Tua are together.
Yeah,
their success is connected to one another.
Yeah, but then when you look at Sean McDermott in Buffalo, I mean it's for DeMeco Ryans in Houston.
They're actually kind of. It feels like they're kind of DeMeco and CJ got a good thing,
right? Yeah,
Buffalo.
That's kind of where I'm at. I mean, Cody, don't get me wrong. I do agree with you. I would like to see an offensive head coach to kind of grow with Bryce as well. I don't necessarily think that's gonna. I mean, because be honest, let's be real. Offensive coordinators they do come and go. I mean, good teams know how to learn. They learn how to win with them. They learn how to win without them. You got, for instance, Dallas. I know we were just talking about how Dallas is kind of falling back to earth. But just a year ago, they were saying how Mike McCarthy wouldn't be able to survive without Kellen Moore, and now that offense is much better without Kellen Moore. So I feel like offensive coordinators. Good teams win with them. Good teams win without them. And if you're not a good team without a good offensive coordinator, you're just not a good team, in my opinion. So
yeah, it's still to this day, I'm still trying to figure out why our defense was ranked as high as 3rd. I haven't looked to see where they are now, but they were 3rd in yards per game. And I was like, well, some of that is short fields, like turnovers with like 20 yards to go to touchdown, that kind of thing. Some of it is the defense playing pretty well, but I was just like, how is that possible? Like, how's that? We're giving up 20-something points a game. So it's like some of this has to be like pick sixes and some other things. I don't know. But Ebro's done a fantastic job with dudes like Sam Franklin, That's a reason why I think Fitterer might stay, because for all the problems we've said he's caused, he's kept that defense afloat. He's the one that's out there pulling people off the street and like practice squads or whatever and bringing them in, and they're starting and playing really well. So there's both sides to the story with Scott Fitterer. So we'll see. He's still here. So we'll see what the deal is with that. With Harbaugh, Patty Grimes says, I live in Michigan. The talk is if Harbaugh leaves Michigan, he's going to Las Vegas or Chicago. Steven brings up an interesting theory. If the Bills crash out of the playoffs, they could trade out Sean McDermott for Harbaugh to get over the hump. I could see that happening. Like that, they got the defense, they got a quarter, like everything's there. All you have to do is step in. That sounds ridiculously close to what might actually occur. So,
but I also want to give a little pushback to something that Monty said. He might think that Justin Herbert is overrated, but the simple fact that the Chargers have Justin Herbert as a quarterback, that is going to be one of the premier destinations for a coach to go to. Because when you have that type of talent, someone that intelligent, tall, a big time arm, like you want a quarterback like Justin Herbert. That's why you hear Harbaugh. That's why you hear potentially Bill Belichick. Dude, I wouldn't even rule Ben Johnson out of that equation too. So again, man, it's like what do you have at the quarterback position? That's one of the biggest things that's going to lure a coach over to your team, and that's why the game against Green Bay was so important for Bryce. Not just for himself and his own confidence, but for your potential head coach to look at that performance and hopefully the next two performances and say, yeah, okay, there's a reason why you would build on Bryce Young for the foreseeable future. I'm going to state my future to that guy right there, someone that really believes in him.
Another thing too, I just thought about while you were talking, Cody, that would swing the thing back to Carolina. While the Chargers do have Justin Herbert, the Chargers have also paid Justin Herbert $250+ million.
Right.
Yeah. Bryce on a rookie contract. So like,
and it's a lot harder to build around. I mean, just look at Kansas City.
Yeah.
I mean, Kansas City, you paid Patrick, and then there's nothing. And when I say overrated, let me before I continue, let me say this. I do give you crap here. I do think Justin Herbert's a top 10 quarterback. It's just, coming into the season, everyone saying he was a top 3 quarterback. I don't.
Oh no, I've never thought that.
Yeah. And that's kind of where I say, yeah, he's a little overrated. I don't think he's a top 3 quarterback. I don't think he's a top 5 quarterback, to be honest. But again, he's still a talent. I do think, like Cody, like you said, he is going to be a premier destination because of Justin Herbert. There's no way around it. He's a young quarterback. He checks all the boxes for what you want in a quarterback. So I mean, yeah, there's trolling the side. He is definitely going to be, a high. He's going to be a high priority list for some coach because, like you said, they do want to stake their success beside Justin Herbert. That being said, going a step further, I do think Bryce Young kind of will be in the mix of that argument as well. And Cody, you hit it on the head. Let him these next 2 performances. If it's anything what we just saw Sunday, Bryce is going to earn a lot of money here in the next couple of years. Yeah, Bryce is going to win over some guys and to want to come play with him. You got Smith Marset already saying, dude, I want to be with Bryce for a couple of years. So and if that's any indication of what the rest of the league is seeing, because again, you got to think about it. These teams, they're on the field with him. They see him. They see him getting killed and get right back up and going out there hooping. That last drive, bro. I'll be honest, that last drive is just as good as any quarterback we've seen in the league this year.
Chef's kiss. It was like
that last drive, those last 3 or 4 throws, bro. It's like, bro, that's as good as any quarterback in the league that you can ask for. So
and that was all I asked for. Like I think the last time 3 of us were together, that was all I was asking for. I wasn't trying to say Bryce was a bust. I wasn't trying to say that he can't do it. I was like, look, dude, you got drafted number 1 overall, like in the entire thing. You can't just be a game manager. Like you can't just be like just accept it and just dink and dunk or whatever. They drafted you number 1 for a reason. I need to see it. What is it? And we had up to that point, we hadn't really seen it. Now, granted, some things needed to change around him. They finally put my boy under center, which I think has been the biggest change in his game because now he's got time. Like once he does that play action or just goes back into his drop naturally from under center, now he's actually giving himself some space and he's giving the offensive line an opportunity to know where he is because that's the main problem. If you're watching the early games, in that shotgun, he's not dropping back further from when he first gets the ball. So he's like a step or 2 maybe back from when he first got it. The offensive line has no idea where he is. And a lot of times dudes that are rushing in, they can see him. The offensive line cannot. So they're getting there in 2-3 seconds, and the offensive line doesn't know where he's at. If he's under center and he gets it and goes out like he's supposed to, the offensive line has a better idea of how far back he is, and they can protect better. Like this is high school.
The Saints did that all the time with Drew Brees. Like that was New Orleans Saints textbook.
Yeah, and what's happened? He's gotten more comfortable in the pocket. He's had more time to throw. He's actually starting to drop back in the pocket and climb up the ladder without somebody chasing him to do so. He's getting his strength underneath the throws, and they're going further. He's throwing deeper throws, and he's starting to be more accurate.
I think part of that as well was, we all said it here before. I just didn't think Bryce was comfortable, in Frank Reich's offense. He was never comfortable, never, and the one thing that frustrated me the most, those first 8 to 10 games was, they just never moved the pocket. Like, dude, Bryce is, there's the pocket is not existent at most times. Move the pocket, move him from being standing back there and getting killed all game. And for instance, that last drive, that's what you see. You see the move in the pocket. You see him lying under center. You see him, the play action boot, to where
bootlegging out. Yeah.
Dude, you're forcing the defense, one way, so like, and you're, and that those are things that Bryce did in Alabama that we just didn't see at first, and that was probably the biggest frustrating thing because again, you're trying to fit that was a big thing. You're fitting a square peg in a round hole, and it doesn't fit, and that was the biggest thing with Frank Reich's offense that we're now seeing with Thomas Brown. That things have changed. Like we are moving the pocket now. We are running a more power style run game. You are getting guys open downfield more now. And I feel like that was kind of the biggest thing that we didn't see earlier in the year.
I'm seeing too, and I noticed it in the Green Bay game. They're starting to scheme the wide receivers open as opposed to just hoping they get open.
Right. Absolutely.
Because there was a couple plays where they had Thielen start off like at the top of the formation and he'd go and then cut across like the middle of the field. Like, and because they were playing zone. So basically, he's just running to that sweet spot of the zone where there's nobody at. And Bryce is anticipating it. So by the time he throws it, it looks like Adam Thielen has no one around him for 5 yards. But that was a design play to get to that part of the zone.
And Des, we don't talk about this enough, man. We're starting to see the personnel that needed to be on the field more. Like with Stephen Sullivan, I've been saying this since camp. Sullivan has needed to be on the field. I've been rough on Tommy Tremble. Tommy Tremble has been needing to see the ball.
Yeah, Tremble's been showing out the past couple of
weeks. Chuba Hubbard running hard, man.
Absolutely, right.
Oh, and shout out to Gabe Jackson, the guard they signed. Because there's been a stark difference in the offensive line since he started playing.
And look, I know we're kind of all over the place here, but dude, DJ Chark, in I feel like a game and a half, has done nothing all season, and now he's going from this guy where you're like, well, damn, maybe we do bring DJ back for another year.
He could be a steward on my team, yeah.
He's already got that continuity with Bryce. If you do get a Ben Johnson knows how to get the best out of a DJ Chark. They work together in Detroit. So it's like, man, what a couple good games will do for your stock, huh?
How would you feel if I sold you guys a bill of next year, Adam Thielen, Jonathan Mingo, DJ Chark, T. Higgins as our core 4 wide receivers with Chuba in the backfield, Bryce under center, and they fix the O-line in terms of just
you got to get another weapon. You
need to draft somebody.
You got to draft one. Yeah, you got to get somebody like T. Higgins, man.
Probably with the second pick, that second round pick. Get a speed guy.
Maybe if it's not an O-lineman, it could be an O-lineman before a receiver.
Well, my point being, if they get somebody like a T. Higgins or someone that's going to be a free agent going into this offseason at wide receiver, there's going to be a bunch of free agent wide receivers, and T is the first one I came to mind. Played for Clemson. He's going to have fancy already. He can be a number 1. He's just not a number 1 because of where he's at. He's in Cincinnati with Jamar Chase. But I think he can be a potential number 1 and grow with Bryce. They're about similar in age and everything else. Mingo's kind of come on a little bit the past couple of weeks in terms of actually catching the football. I don't know. All of it just seems like it's gotten slower, not just for Bryce, but the whole offense. Like maybe DJ was going too fast. Maybe Thielen was focusing too much on helping the team because he was the only one catching the ball. Maybe Chuba was just overthinking it. And it feels like they've been allowed to just kind of relax and have fun and go play football. And Bryce has been able to cook a little bit because some of those breakdowns on that last drive weren't designed to the play. He literally had to kind of just turn the schoolyard ball. And that's what he did best at Alabama, to be honest. Like when he had to break it down and just kind of bootleg out and find somebody, he's mad accurate doing it. Like he put some of those balls, that one ball he threw to Thielen that like only Thielen could get, and Thielen had to like catch it like this on the run, like cross his body. Like I can't even explain it really. He was running in front of him. He threw it, so he caught it left-handed. So it came across his body, and he's parallel to the sideline. He's turning up, and like if he had an extra half a yard, he would have been able to turn up, and there was nobody in front of him. And like, you know, what I mean?
I'll make the argument. You got a faster receiver. That's a house call, man.
Yeah,
like I totally agree. Like you get a faster receiver. You get somebody like Troy Franklin on that crosser route, and bro, we're looking at a 50-60 yard like play. Yeah. Hey man, I'll take it a step further. There's the ball he threw to DJ Chark on the sideline. The last ball he threw to DJ Chark on the sideline.
Yeah,
dog. That by far, like I said, that's probably some of the best throws I've seen from a quarterback all that whole Sunday.
I think I stood up in my living room. Was like, that's what I wanted to see.
Yeah, like bro, layer it over the corner, right before the safety, put it on the sideline for DJ Chark to make a play. DJ Chark makes a crazy catch on the side. Like, bro, that's Carolina Panther football, bro.
Yeah, there's some things to work with here. It's funny that we have to get to the interim head coach before we get to this part of the season, like the past couple of years, where we're like, hey, we got some things we can work with here. I don't like that feeling because we've done it now like 3 times in like 5 years. Where we're like, oh, hey, okay, we got some stuff. Let's just see what's going to happen.
You want to put that up real quick?
Yeah, let's see what this is. Oh, that's the throw.
Oh yeah, bro, that's it, bro. I'm well, of course, I had posted on Twitter like I was at the bar with Kev and Will from 4-Man Rush. Bro, I literally was screaming in the bar by that throw. I was like, "Yep." That was
the video I saw. Was that you?
Yeah, bro. I was like, "Yep, that's it. That's the throw I needed to see." Yep, that's. I was different time at it.
Well, look, man. How about this? I'll even take it a step further, right? If we get off the field on that 3rd and 4, which we all know wasn't a catch, okay? Let's establish that.
Talk about that. Yeah.
Not only that, but the ball should have been a penalty. It should have been a delay of game. The ball was still in the hand of the center when the clock was at 0-0.
Oh, you're right. Yeah.
If that goes the way it's supposed to, I have no doubt that Bryce marches us down the field the very next drive, and we're getting ran to score.
I'm glad you mentioned that because I was thinking about that after it happened. We didn't get it. I'm like, well, technically that's what's supposed to happen. But I watch games all the time in the NFL where I'm watching the clock, and it's like, the line didn't snap it in time before it hit 0 or something, or I'll see 2 dudes like the guard and the tackle actually jump before the ball is snapped and it's not called. Like little things like that where you're like the timing's a little off. And it feels like the refs give them like a little, once the clock hits 0, there's almost like a half a second cushion they give it before they blow.
Yeah, you get like half a beat after it hits 0. So it's 0. And then if it's not snapped, they kind of throw the flag.
If that's the case, he snapped and spiked that ball with like less than a second to go. Like he literally, I think they got it off. And they just were like, nah, it says 0 on the board. Can't do nothing about it. I'm like, because that's not what you did earlier in the game. So who knows? That might have been one of them situations where you send Eddie Pinheiro out there and he kicks a 50-yard field goal and they win the game going away. And that just changes everything again, like they did the week before. So all it did was make it where the next couple of games will be interesting for us to watch. I think that's what we all wanted. We didn't want a repeat of what we'd seen the first 13 weeks where it's like the same rock fight every week and you kind of know how it's going to end. The first 2 weeks we've had here without Reich where it's felt like they could actually do something. Like, let's see what they do. And I'm going to each game like, I'm optimistic. Let's see what they do. I don't know what they're going to run, so let's just see what happens. And they've kept me entertained. That was a very entertaining game Sunday. I was very happy they gave us a game on Christmas Eve that was like fun to watch. And even the announcers were saying it. They're like, this has been a fun game. This has been a great game to watch. Blah, blah, blah. Jordan Love played pretty good too. So they got the Jaguars Sunday. We're out of time. Matter of fact, flip over on the Tobacco Road YouTube channel. You can watch the premiere of the new episode of The Cat Cave with Ryan Frick and Michael Davis. That's on right now. So all you gotta do is go out of this, go to the main page and flip down to it, and you can watch that. They'll talk all about the game from Sunday, stats, and more. We've got the Jaguars Sunday. Looks like Trevor Lawrence will not be playing as it stands right now. He has not practiced in a couple of days. He's got a sprained AC joint in his throwing shoulder. So,
I did not know that.
Yeah, so he might not even be out there. Yeah. And he got it. He was reaching for a first down last Sunday night and got tackled out of bounds and slid out towards the bench or something. And
hey, fellas, if we put up a good game, man, y'all already know how I'm acting. So, so I don't have to go. I don't have to preface that by anything. But hey, man, That's going to be fun football Sunday, man. I didn't know Trevor Lawrence wasn't playing.
Yeah, well, they haven't ruled him yet, and the Jags are the type where they might let him not practice all week and still throw him out there, which would be crazy.
That's what they did the week before.
Yeah, so he can still play. He might come out there Sunday and warm up and be like, you know what, let's go, and then do it, because I didn't think he was going to play. What was it, a couple weeks ago when did he have a concussion or something? What was it? He sprained his ankle.
I think it was an ankle. Yeah, he sprained his ankle or something like that.
Played the next week.
It was a lower.
He played the next week. Oh, and one more thing before we go, I didn't realize that somebody mentioned it in the comments. Congratulations to Julius Peppers, who has been nominated one of the 15 finalists to the Pro Football Hall of Fame. That just went down in the past hour. The remainder of the finalists, Peppers and tight ends Antonio Gates, are the only first-year eligible nominees in this year's final 15. The remaining finalists are cornerback Eric Allen, defensive end Jared Allen, offensive tackle Willie Anderson, guard Jari Evans, defensive end Dwight Freeney, safety Rodney Harrison, receiver returner Devin Hester. Oh, he's getting in. Wide receiver Torrey Holt. Oh, wide receiver Andre Johnson, running back Fred Taylor, wide receiver Reggie Wayne. Damn. Linebacker Pat Willis, and safety Darren Woodson. There's some wide receivers. Not all y'all can get in. Holt, Johnson, Wayne, all y'all deserve to get in. Wow. And notice our buddy Steve Smith is not in that, because primarily because the names I just rattled off, they're a logjam at wide receiver. So Smitty, another year I'll have to wait. But
how many years are you allowed to be in the running before you're not?
I want to say it's like 5.
I thought it was 5. Yeah, I think it's 5.
And then you move to the legacy category or whatever it's called.
So what? This is Smitty's 3rd year not making it, or second?
I think it's the second. It's just because you got to wait 5 years after you retire before you're even eligible, and then.
Yeah, then I think you get 5. Because Donovan McNabb, I think it was 5 years before they put, before he just wasn't eligible no more.
Right. Yeah. So if he gets in, it'll be like in that legacy thing on the back end or whatever.
Right.
Ones get in on, but I think Smitty will get in eventually. Peppers should be first ballot. We've all said that, so that doesn't surprise me that he's in the finalists. He's 4th all time in sacks. Like, he's gonna get in. Like, so you want to talk about a game changer? I think that was Julius Peppers when he wanted to. Let's stop it right there. Felt good to be back. Hope everybody had a happy holidays. Be safe this New Year's Eve weekend. Popo gonna be out there trying to get everybody. So just be cool. Be wherever you're at. Stay there. Enjoy yourselves. And hopefully by the time we get to the ball dropping, we've been celebrating a second consecutive Panthers win on Sunday afternoon against the Jaguars. So we'll see what happens with all of that. Got a little bit of optimism going on here. Believing Panthers will be on Friday due to bowl season and a couple of things that me, Stu, and Skylar had going on. We'll be on Friday at I think 9:30, if I'm not mistaken. I'll go check that time again. So definitely stick around for that later on in the week. For Monty Fetti from the 4-Man Rush, from Cody Lachney from the Carolina Chronicles, I'm Desmond Johnson from Tobacco Road Sports Radio. You've been watching and listening to the Embrace Debate, a Carolina Panthers podcast here on the Keep Pounding Podcast Network, powered by the Fans First Sports Network. We'll see y'all next time, probably next week. Keep pounding.